Well, good evening, everybody on the show and listening to the replay as well. Welcome to April. Is it season 27 of Beyond the Ordinary now? It's something like that. I'm losing track of time. Yes, season 27, April says. April, do me a favor, put Elizabeth's special offer in the chat box now in case anybody wants to check it out while I'm doing the intro, or they know they want to go ahead and dive in with Elizabeth for 2022. This is the first special offer also for the new season on Beyond the Ordinary. And it's to start with Elizabeth, you guys are going to be just swimming in newness. And I want you to just sit with that and kind of be in the not knowing of what that newness may be. Because if you knew what the new was, it wouldn't be new, right? It would seem logical. But we tend to embrace the new like it's an old friend, and we wind up repeating something, and there's another gift that's being presented that, if we surrender in innocence, becomes available, and our heart expands and our aura expands and our capacity to give and to receive love goes to another octave that we now have access to. And Elizabeth is such an epitome for bringing newness through ancient wisdom, but also technologies that are evolving consciously as we are. And we're all going for the same ride. So I'm excited to have Elizabeth on, kicking off the new season with this newness and talking about the new playing field of light. And so we're going to dive into the call. I'm going to give you a little introduction about Elizabeth in case some of y'all are new to her. And we'll also open up the platform for Q&A a little bit later on the call. So if you want to ask your personal question, there'll be plenty of time to do that. And for me to know that you do want to be interactive with us, just raise your hand on the Zoom call. And you can find that way to raise the hand on the button on the screen. And we'll dive right in. So again, the new playing field of light. So a little bit more about Elizabeth. She's considered an advanced seer. And I just freaking love Elizabeth, just her heart and how she shares in her generosity. And again, I'd want to call your consciousness galactic, elemental, the same. It's so beautifully complex, but so eloquent and simple at the same time. Elizabeth works on the cutting edge of galactic and quantum anthropology, trauma healing, and futurism, with her lifelong ability to see into and work with all dimensions. Her theoretical and psychic work has helped people all over the world, including me, by the way. She's called a living library and oracle, and Elizabeth has spent her whole life studying anthropological theory, quantum physics, ancient and modern medicine. She has 2 science degrees, including a master's in applied anthropology. Her philosophies and practices bridge science and spirituality to support real change in the world. And with that, Elizabeth, welcome. Thank you for being here on this launch of season 27.
Thank you, John. That's the sweetest intro ever. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's my son's 19th birthday today.
Oh, wow.
And that's special. So we're here at this little Aquarius gate, and I'm proud for that. It's a very special day.
Happy birthday to you. I always think we celebrate the mothers on the birthdays. You're the one who did all the work.
Me too. Yeah, it's true.
So let's dive into this. It's again, there's so many energies that are rolling through right now, and there's theories about what's coming in and what the new year brings in 2022 and how we're advancing through different ascensionary cycles. What are you seeing in the field right now? What's leading for you?
Well, it's been interesting because to be able to describe it, you kind of have to compare it to like what was just before the solstice, the winter solstice in the north, and in the south, obviously, the summer solstice. But this solstice was like this really massive wave. It was a big tsunami in consciousness, and we hit it. And there was this peak moment where you get to drop all of your stuff that you're ready to let go. And this was across the board, kind of forced on everybody in a way, because energetically, we were all at the edge of that wave together. Nobody was left behind. and there was nobody leading the way. We were all in equanimity in this wave of consciousness. And it got pretty foggy, like as if you were in the top of a rolling wave and you couldn't see over the edge. You just knew that it was really intense. And every day it was getting more intense. Everything was seeming to wind up tighter and tighter. And then we hit this edge, and that opportunity to drop whatever stuff you don't want to take with you anymore happened. And it happened in the physical, it happened in the mental, emotional, and of course the spiritual. So it happened in ways that are continuing to unfold. So I want people to just notice that. Notice how you're being asked to drop some stuff, and it could be quite surprising what it might be. So that being said, then this edge came, and there was this clarity, this blinding clarity. In fact, it was so clear, the light was so clear that it took literally this whole past month for at least me to acclimate to it. And I'm probably still acclimating, because I feel like I'm new. I feel like I'm a kid that showed up to something and I'm not really sure what's going on, but it's extremely fascinating. That innocence of that childlike amazement is kicking in big time. And one of the things that has happened that I've noticed with lots of people is that now in the processing of our trauma, there's not just an expansiveness. Now, as you're bringing in new information, as you're dropping baggage, as you're dropping trauma, there's all this brilliant, bright clarity and transparency that happens too, along with the expansiveness of yourself. So this is actually kind of like what I thought might happen, but it's not in the way that I thought it would feel. I can see that everyone's edges are blurring. Like at one point in time, several years ago, I've said this before on your show, that all of our fields were going to merge. And our fields were going to merge, and that we would all be in this oneness consciousness. But in my mind, when I saw it, and this is a good point about being a seer, you can't see the future. That's impossible. You can see little glimpses of or shards of a bigger picture, but you'll never be able to see the full future, because we're creating it. We're writing that future. That being said, I could see like, oh, there's going to be this merger going on. It is not at all what I thought. I thought it was going to be very much more like particles merging with more particles to make a big, huge meta consciousness, right? That's not what's happening. What's happening is this clarity, this transparency, the clearing of my own field as far as I can see, to the point where then I can see very clearly and feel that I'm not separate from anyone or anything at all, for that matter. And it's becoming deeply humbling. I don't think I've been more humbled than in the past 2 months, than in my whole life combined. A lot of deep, deep humbling. And just to recognize then the sovereignty that's showing up is also clear, it's transparent. It's a different kind of sovereignty than I've ever experienced. So some of the newness that's happening are going to be new words, new definitions, new ways to feel the things that we've been talking about, that we all thought we knew, that we understood what we were saying. And now I'm using these words and they are completely new to me. There's a new definition for clarity now. Or a new definition for expansiveness even. So that's just the sort of pinnacle of what I'm experiencing personally. But as we bring it up to the universal, the newness is coming from the universe. And the place and space we're in, our little bitty galaxy, is in a new place it's never been in before. So this means that the newness is not just relegated to humanity.
Mm.
It's happening for the whole galaxy. And this means something really amazing. There's been a galactic war going on for many billions of years, and it's over.
Mm.
It means it's over. This is not at all what anyone expected, not from the galactics who are so intelligent, not from us, not from the ancient wisdom. Nobody knew that this is exactly what was going to happen. This incredible clarity, because literally the galaxy is moving through a cloud of matter and there's a gap. We're in the gap and it's literally just happening. So this gap is causing even more light that has never existed in the whole galaxy. So the galactic history is here to support us, but then this new energy is supporting everyone across the board, every single one of our brethren in this galaxy. And anyone who we might have even considered adversaries at this point, the clarity and the transparency is on the table for them too.
Mhm.
So it's going to be really interesting from here, but it's a nice staking in the ground. January 2022, the war is over.
I
What an
love that.
amazing thing.
Beautiful. There's a couple of things that you mentioned that really struck me. First, from a very empathic standpoint, as far as the resonance of words come along. And when you mentioned the word sovereignty and you brought it up through your being, it didn't carry a charge for me like I've heard sovereignty before, which was a very individualized process that people were. It's almost like they were boundaried to make sure that they were in that space of individualization. And when you said earlier, there was a flow and a release into it being more organic than artificially emanated for the sake of trying to become something.
Yeah, it's like a transparent sovereignty.
Mhm.
And it feels very humble. Because I can remember my past lives, which are kicking in to save the day all the time at this point.
Mm.
That all now makes so much more sense. It makes sense, like what happened to my soul and what I did and what I didn't do. And there's a humbling from that. There's a realization that, wow, all this time I've still thought that I was this singular individual that had walls. And boy, John, I have some serious walls. I can see these walls so clear now. These walls have kept me from friendship. They've kept me from love, because I've contained my emotions. And I'm the oldest of 7 kids. So if I had an outburst, that meant the whole household had an outburst. So I've learned to contain myself, but this is eons in the making, these walls. And for the first time in my life, I've experienced a new kind of love. And this love saw through my wall and felt me, and it scared me. I think I've not been more terrified in the past whole lifetime than I have in this past month.
Wow.
And coming with the transparency has been levels of terror that I've had to use every skill I've got to keep my boots on tight and to prepare myself to be in divine neutrality. And that's the other part of the nature of this new sovereignty, or this fresh version of sovereignty, is divine neutrality. And it's not a wall. It's actually deeply open, and very see-through and transparent, but there is this neutrality where I don't have to react to anything at all. All things in existence are loved simply because they exist.
Mhm.
And this universal compassion is tied to this sovereignty as well. And maybe there'll be a new word that comes up other than sovereignty. But for now, that's all I've got to describe what's happening.
Well, in the way you're describing it, again, there's a softness that's coming energetically through the translation. So I find that it's not even so much the specific words that we speak, but how they're emanated through our being and knowingness through our experience.
Yeah. And this experience now is all of the billions of years of memory being so perfectly available, and being able to merge with that. And that's been tough because a lot of it's pretty horrific. and then this kind of clean slate, like starting over and saying, all right, well, apparently I'm at zero. And I'm going to just revel in this zeroness and this little 0 point, this centeredness. And I'm going to ground into it. I'm going to be in neutrality about it. And from here, I have no idea what's going to happen exactly. But I have some visuals, some clarity that I think Source is putting out there for all of us to see. And it's this concept of the golden age, this playing field of light. And that's what the golden age is. It has to do with playing with light. It's the 8th dimension of consciousness, the temples of light. And these temples of light are in our consciousness. They're not outside of you, they're in you. But it's being revealed. The dimensions are being revealed. Even if you're not a psychic seer, you're feeling something shift. You're feeling new kinds of love available to you and new versions of joy, new elements that apparently were there all along. But now we get access to it. And you don't have to earn it. There's no earning about this. It literally exists. You're part of it. Now we've walked out of the fog of duality and we're entering into formless, total, neutral non-duality. That's what I think heaven really is. Heaven on earth.
Yeah, I've been in conversations and we've described it as really the harosgamos of our individualization, the merging of our polarities coming into union and experiencing itself in a way that only that union can create.
Yeah, I love duality because you learn so much from it, and it's ironic because half the dimensions have duality in them. So it's kind of funny.
Perfect balance.
Right? It is. It's all perfect. But I like to imagine the struggle of duality being like a giant hamster wheel, and you're trying to go one way really hard to get somewhere, and you don't, and then another way really hard to get somewhere, and you don't. And the only way you get off the hamster wheel is when you stop. And this is what's happening. There is no more doing. There is a beingness where we're being asked to stop. It's kind of like, even if you've been really struggling with the hamster wheel, there's this sense of like, hey, everything's going to be okay. At least that, if not a sense of being still. Like the hamster wheel just stopped spinning anyway, whether or not you did it or not. And now you're standing there and you get a chance to step off the hamster wheel. That's the last doing, because now it's met this 0 point and it can't move anymore. So you can try, and that will feel terrible. It'll feel like resistance. Trying to spin on a hamster wheel that's not moving, that'll be miserable. So just notice that in your life. If you're like, I'm trying to spin this hamster wheel of this relationship or this business or whatever, and it's not moving, and it's making me increasingly frustrated and miserable, this is your chance now to notice, all right, if I just sit still, if I stop doing for a minute, if I meditate, stop my mind at least, then what's really going on? And you'll find that everything's so formless that it can't really keep going the way it did before. There can't be any more resistance or friction in a normal way, except in you. And if you're willing to merge with this formlessness and welcome it and become it, then you're going to find a state of non-doing. And this non-doing state leads you to something very interesting, to this presence. And it's like, oh, I've been in a hamster wheel in a big, huge room, and now I'm aware of the room. Now everything's very clear, but I'm also being seen. I'm being observed by who? And that observer actually is you. That's what's getting so interesting, because the grand observer we call God, or the source of all things, as you gaze at it, as you become aware of it, I want you to notice that it's actually you, and it loves you so much. You love you so much. There's this endless, non-judgmental love that's available in that.
Ah, beautiful. Elizabeth, what would you say to some people who may be experiencing the first effects of the hamster wheel stopping and like being confused because it's still not spinning, and having to really realize that there's a new reality that's being shaped, that that mechanism doesn't function anymore?
Yeah. Well, I would say that what you'll notice is that you're going to become hyper aware of patterns. And these patterns are cultural patterns, and they are relationship patterns, and they are genetic patterns. And of course, we say, well, I have my personal stuff. Yes, of course. But your personal stuff often was learned. You learned it from your culture, you learned it from your family, your genetics, and you also learned it from, of course, these deep programs that have been placed into all of our DNA over eons. And that's all rising to the surface. So, for example, I'm going to be really transparent here and say, I've been struggling in my marriage, and it's not been it's the hamster wheel of my marriage stopped. And there was this examination that happened. It's not been easy, but it's also not been terrible either. There's this moment where both my husband and I are examining this energy of, this isn't working. Like, we're trying to make something go that's not going, like it's dead stopped. Okay. And we had to step back for a little bit and just be able to think about it, right? And so we have that privilege, we have that opportunity to step back from it and think about it for a while. And what came up for me and him was fascinating. We came up with the same issues, the same concepts. We came up with the same stressors. It turns out we've been making this hamster wheel work with the same programming. And some of the programming slightly different. Like, he has very open, wide, gushing emotions, and my emotions are so contained behind this nuclear bunker that he can't read me at all. And like, the guy couldn't read me, so he thought I was okay for 10 years.
Wow.
And I wasn't. But that's my responsibility. I made it so he couldn't read me. It wasn't clear to me until now, because all this blinding clarity is making it so easy to see. Like, oh, wow. Well, guess what? All my best friends, all my family, even my own husband, they can't read me at all. I actually went and interviewed everybody. I asked them. And they're like, no, nope, we have no idea what you're thinking or feeling ever. And it disturbed me, because now it's really clear. I've been living behind this bunker. What have I been missing out on? So it has to go. And that's great. So that's a pattern. That's something I learned. It's something I created. And it served me well up until now, up until we're being asked to literally become as clear as possible. So there's other patterns that we've discovered, and we literally have been able to sit down and lay them out with grace, with gentleness, and start to really chip away at it. My marriage is basically at zero. We've met a 0 point, and we've stepped off the hamster wheel, and we're kind of wandering around the room, and we're saying, well, what do we want to do? What do I want to do? What do you want to do? Well, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. So we're going to just be right now. there's no doing.
Yeah.
It's a good
I,
example.
yeah, that's a great example. And thank you so much for sharing so openly about that. I was going to say vulnerably, but there's power in the sharing. And so again, using words very consciously about with the creation and acknowledgement. What's wonderful in what you're describing also, and I feel a lot of consciousness shifting towards this tremendously. It's so encouraging where there's no blaming, shaming, or guilt involved. Again, we're taking responsibility not for the sake of martyring or even crucifying ourselves or constantly working on ourselves, but really it's that sovereign peace that recognizes itself in its own creation.
And this is what that meaning of being a creator being really turned out to be.
Mm.
I had this vision earlier this year that I'd like to share that will help with where we're headed here and why I call it a playing field of light.
Mhm.
And and it was an awake vision. And I have crazy dreams and visions and all this stuff. This is why I don't drive. But so this vision came up, and I was in the library of consciousness. And the way Source God shows me consciousness, it looks like a massive library. And it's like the funnest place to me ever. And so I'm in the library, but I find myself in a section that I've never been in before.
Mm.
And I'm looking at a gate, and it looks like this cast iron, like Victorian style gate out of Harry Potter or something. And it has these 12 locks, these giant locks, and they're all open. And I'm like, where the heck am I? And who is so powerful to have opened all these locks? Like, this must be some crazy forbidden part of the library, because opening locks in the Library of Consciousness is not easy. And so I'm super impressed. And I kind of go in and I realize this is the back of the library. Like, I didn't know there was a back, but there's a back. And so there's this back of the library, and there's this being of light, of pure, beautiful white and gold light, and very tall. And it's reading this huge, huge book. And I'm like, wow, this being must be so powerful. They opened all these locks. And it turns and looks at me, and the eyes looked like the universe. And suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, that's me. I freaked out for a minute. I'm like, that's me. What the heck? And then I switched places. Now I'm not watching the being hanging out. I am the being. And now I understand very clearly that I opened these locks. I opened the 12 dimensions of consciousness in my own consciousness. But I'm like, what book is this? Because it must be really good if it's in the back of the library behind all these locks and stuff. Well, you can imagine it's the Book of Elizabeth.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a minute, is this really? And for me, these visions are very real. I can touch everything and smell the book, and I'm flipping back, and it's me. It's all my life. And I'm like, this is real strange. And it felt very odd. And as I got used to it, because my consciousness remained there, as I got used to it, I'd find, and this is interesting, I'd find that I'd flip back in the book a lot. I'd be like, I want to think about that ex-boyfriend from from high school. I'm gonna go think about my sister and how mad I was at her about this other thing. Or it's so weird. And I was realizing I'm taking a lot of effort flipping back in this huge book.
Hmm.
So I stopped very consciously. I stopped flipping back in the book, and it saved all this energy that I was wasting. And then I started to look around, because this book's really interesting. It's very interesting. But this space, this place, the end of the library was really interesting too. And as I looked around, there's a window to my right. And I'd never seen a window in the Library of Consciousness. So I go and I look out the window, and the light was so still, yet it was creating the library. It was creating me. It was creating the book. Everything was being created. And I found myself over the past several months, because this has gone on over the past year, getting more interested in that light than I am in the book.
Mm.
And so I presented this to my teacher, actually, and I said, what do I do next? And she said, your problem is that you keep looking out the window. You think you keep having to do something. She's like, the light is you. Look in here. This is your window. Look very carefully, and you'll find that you are that light, and there is nothing separate from you. That you're making the library. You made it all along. You made the Book of Elizabeth. You made the locks. You made the cast iron gate. You made all of that. And that's where we're at now.
Wow.
We get to decide that.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And it takes me to simplicity. What if we can just know without having to figure it out? Right?
Actually, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Knowing without figuring out. Knowing is something that for me as a seer, I had to let go of,
Mm.
because my greatest fear was that somebody would come to me with an issue and that I wouldn't know what to do or say or see. And that was a huge block in becoming what I really am, which is luminosity, which can reveal anything without knowing it at all. And letting go of the knowing altogether too leads to something. Or maybe for folks, it might work better for them to simply let go of that you have to do anything to know.
Yeah.
And so either way, there is a letting go of something that's very ingrained. It's culturally ingrained in us on that you must do in order to know or be, even that you have to do to be. That's wild.
I
That's not
can
real.
I can feel so many beings or the energy on the platforms and just relaxing as you're talking about this and just like going into levels of peace that we didn't start off with necessarily, and accessing more of that. Speaking of luminosity, and I'm going to get to the next question, and then I'll take care of the luminosity here. I need to turn on some lights. I forgot to do that before
Yeah,
I started.
you got dark real quick.
So I'm going to do that, but and I want to get into Q&A here in just a minute, and of course go through a special offer. But I want to open it for Q&A because I can feel the questions coming in. Also, this is going to be epic. But I'd love it if you go into it a little bit about the latest energies that are available for healing and co-creating. And as you start, I'll be back in 3 seconds. Excuse me.
Great, no problem. So let's talk about healing and co-creating. What's new? What's the energies that are here for us to heal with? Well, I think it's really interesting because healing, everyone treats healing like also an action. But healing is, I think, beyond even action. It's beyond talk, it's beyond action. There is a field, there is a source from all things, from whence all things arise. And this source has every version of you, every trillion bazillion versions of you that are possible. There's the healed versions of you. There's the one who's able to regenerate and renew and nourish yourself through light, through power, which is light, and through frequency and the ether, because atomic physics is going to be blasé real soon. It's ether physics from here. But that being said, then there's the versions of you that don't do that. But here's the trick. This is what's new. Every version of you is perfect. There is this level of consciousness around being where we always say, well, I would rather be the highest, best, most benevolent being. I want to be the highest, best version of myself. But my friends, every version of you is laid out and there is no hierarchy. There is nothing wrong with any of these versions of you. This is the very first foundation of true healing, to understand and recognize that every single one of those versions, you're going to learn amazing stuff, amazing things about pain and how pain is actually just light, or amazing things about regeneration and how you found that you were able to heal that emotional issue or that deep scar tissue in your body. Or every version or variety is perfect. Perfection exists naturally. It's not something you have to strive for. That's a deeper level of peace. My gut feels it. I feel peaceful in my gut saying that. That's how I know. I'm discerning that that's true. So that's new. I had never perceived it that way before until now. That actually the playing field of healing is incredible equanimity for all versions of yourself. And so that, and also the next piece around healing, I think, has to do with frequency. And, that's something that most folks who listen to your show, John, know about. But my friends, we're in a place in space, like I said, that's very new. There is new frequencies coming. I told you there are new versions of joy, new types of love, new everything that we thought we knew. Like, let's say we had, 88 keys on the piano. Suddenly, now there's new dimensions to that piano. Now there's 88 times 12 versions of each single key. It's like everything now is unfolding. Okay, here's another good visual that Source is giving me here. Like a fan, those cool fans, those like Oriental fans that'll get really big. And at first, all you see is the little stick, right? And then slowly you begin to unfold it and you realize, oh, this is way bigger than I thought. And then it keeps going. That's what's happening right now with frequency. So if you're like feeling new emotions, because I am, I must sound like it too, because I usually am I can talk. I can talk. I'm feeling new types of love. I'm feeling new types of pain. I'm feeling types of pain that blow every other type of pain I've ever felt out of the water. I'm feeling types of humility that are blowing my mind all the time. And this is going to continue to unfold from here, folks. And there is no end in sight, because our galaxy is going to be in this spot for a long time. So it's going to be really interesting how this serves our further evolution. But those two things, the equanimity of all the versions of you, that there's no wrong version of you, that a traumatized, sick version of you is actually amazing and perfect and has tons and tons and tons of things to share with your soul, as much as your regenerated, healed version. And that is new. And then all these new varieties, all these types of frequencies arising. The library has just got a lot bigger.
Yeah, and it's the shift of perspective that also brings up the new world.
Yeah, exactly that.
Right. It's so beautiful. And I love the piano analogy also, because if we think about those keys opening up, and if we press one key, it reverberates across all keys. And as empathic as many of you are, well, you're all empathic, truly. But as empathic as our capacities, the capacities for our empathy is exponentially increasing, we're going to feel the reverberation of a key that's in alignment and harmony and one that isn't, very dramatically. And so it helps us to choose congruence, to choose the harmonics, to choose what's in symphony with others as well. We can't help it. It's where all the timelines for me seem to be collapsing into that one reality and a collective consciousness that we're all creating together.
Mm-hmm. And it's so transparent. It's not structured like I might have imagined it before.
Yeah.
And then when every person feels like this new love that I've been feeling, which causes me to just be in endless fascination and wonder.
Mm,
This new love, now that I'm feeling it, because our bodies are transmitters, now it's available to you because I happen to feel it. So this is exponential. There is endless change ahead of us. And being someone who loves and is obsessed with understanding change, I'm on the edge of my seat for what is going to happen here and what we will remember and what we will build and rebuild. And that's why I've been talking to all these different master builders
mm.
who have come up into my life. I knew they were coming. I just didn't know that they were going to be here so fast. And these are the master builders who built the pyramids. These are the master builders who built Angkor Wat. And working with them, and I'm remembering and I'm seeing, but they haven't resisted it at all. They're not remembering it yet, and they may not, but they might not need to,
Yeah.
because I'm literally there like, hey, hello, I remember you, I love you. And it's so pure and so genuine, and it has no agenda, that all they can do is just enjoy it.
Mhm.
And that's something that all of us can do. Enjoy this. Just really back up into being pure about this. There's no reason to hide or distort or be worried about your feelings anymore, guys, because the array, the incredible rainbow of frequency just got a lot bigger. So there's a lot more to feel. And if you can be just really open about it, and with love, of course, and compassion, so we're not going to say blunt, mean, nasty things to each other, but we can be very, very clear. Hey, this isn't working right now. Would you, because I'm asking, for no other reason perhaps, would you be willing to examine this or stop this? Or let's shift gears, would that be okay? So there's going to be that too. But I'm fascinated by how this will unfold from here.
Well, we're fascinated by your fascination and the way that you share it as well. So I'm so excited about what you're sharing now in your truth and reality and in your embodied experience, because it lights the way for comprehension, understanding it, and a tranquility that leads to a surrender of receiving. So thank you for the way that you're sharing and for, again, being open to the esoteric science that's coming through for us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. It's well said. Well said.
Yeah. So it's so wonderful. I want to get into Q&A. So we're going to start taking y'all's questions here in just a little bit. And I didn't realize we're already 45 minutes in. So I want to get into your special offer because I know so many people want to go deeper with you into this conversation and into the energetics and the coherence of what's coming through you. So everybody in the chat box, April is about to type in, if she hasn't already, the link for the special offer. Just go down the chat box, open it up, and you'll see it at the very bottom of the chat. Or you can type into your web browser, beyondtheordinaryshow.com. Again, beyondtheordinaryshow.com. So I'm not blurring my words together. /Elizabeth27, the number 27. And it'll take you to that same special offer page. And Elizabeth, if you take a few minutes to go over what everybody's going to be immersed in with you, that'd be wonderful.
I'm excited about this one.
Me too.
It's been a while since I've done something quite like this. So I'm offering you 99 classes. Sounds wild, but for real. But a bit more, but you'll see. So 94 ancient templates of wisdom. Some years ago, and you'll hear it in my voice, of course, when you listen to these, but the 94 ancient templates of wisdom are something that was placed into our DNA experience at the very beginning of our history here, at the beginning of the experiment on this planet. And it's time to erase them. So I'm offering them to you so that you can be finished with them, so that you can go in and recapitulate that ancient knowledge, dissolve them, and be open to all of them becoming new keys on the piano. because there's universal versions of them. And that's not what they were originally. They were galactic memory distilled from trauma and experience and ego down into wisdom. And if we're willing to dissolve this, this is going to take a huge chunk out of your DNA experience, kind of like taking the floor out of the house so that a lot of stuff can go ahead and collapse. And in that collapsing, there will be a lot of remembering and clarity. So we have our personal trauma and history and wisdom. We have our genetic and family level trauma and history, but there's the floor. And that floor, we're pulling it out so that we can understand that we have this DNA that's incredibly beautiful and empty and has lots of light. So that's why I'd like you to be able to listen to all of them so that you can erase them. And I give you direct steps on how to do that erasure. Then there's a very important set of classes that I think is very quality that will help us because these dimensions are still in place. And there's 2 classes I'm giving you on how to navigate the dimensions of consciousness. I teach you not only what those dimensions are and how do you even know you're accessing it, because it's not, you don't have to go anywhere. You just need to access it. And you have access. And that being said, what are the pitfalls? What are the problems? What should you expect? What beings live in different dimensions? You want to know that too. Then there's a 3rd class. And I mentioned to you that you've learned a lot from your culture. And I want to help you dissolve it. Because a lot of that programming, if you shift that, you're shifting, again, more stuff out of your DNA. And you're accessing dimensions more easily that way. So I want to teach you how to dissolve your cultural conditioning in 2 parts. It's very dense, intense work, but it's really profound what will happen to your consciousness. The 4th piece is the body oracle technique. It's literally a whole bunch of anthropological work that I did, and I combined it with mysticism and discernment work to turn it into a unique technique. And it's really quite fun and systematic. But once you get used to using it, you're going to use it all the time and find that you can discern full body discernment all the time. Each of your little micro movements in this beautiful new co-creation we're in, you'll be able to discern for yourself what is what, who is who, and what's the next step. And that being said, we all need help. I need help. I need help too. And I get regular sessions for myself. But that being said, I want to offer you a chance to come and work with me for an hour or a half hour, but get, no, it's for 1 hour. Get 25% off. I'm giving you 25% off this year. It's for the whole year. So if you have something, anything goes. That's what an oracle is all about. People are like, well, what can you see? What can you do for me? Anything goes. I'm just a mirror. I get out of the way. I don't know anything. And I'm literally just a mirror to you. And it can be very profound to be seen without judgment and very deeply healing. But with each session, I handpick a lot of resources for you. So it's not me training you. I'm going to give you a full-blown, nice, clear, deep reading, and training will come with that session. So this is how I would love to serve you best right now, is to make it easier for you to be able to use that session this year. So that one-on-one hour, 25% off. And then another piece, a 3-class pass, because I teach classes regularly, but I also have a huge body of work. I have taught over 300 classes over the past decade, and I have a lot to offer you. But a 3-pass class, if you want to come to 3 new classes this year on me, I want you to come. Or if you have 3 classes that you know I've taught, that you want, that you've always wanted, and you haven't got them yet, then they're all yours. So I want to make sure you get access to things in a more fluid way. It's not going to be as structured this time. Now you get to have more. And then, of course, music from my husband and I that we wrote and did together, and a 1-year subscription. If you have come and joined my community, you get to join me for our free special monthly calls that we do every month. and they're very profound. They're deep. We talk about the personal, we're transparent, we're vulnerable, we're real, and we do some deep work together for the earth. And so I hope that you'll really take advantage of this right now and really come join me. I'm excited to work with you.
This is fantastic. And it's funny, I'm looking down at the testimonials as well. And as I'm looking at them, I have to tell you, I don't think those testimonials are relevant anymore because the work's gone to a whole nother level. They're wonderful. And I get the progression of your work and what you've been doing. You've been on the show for how many years now?
What?
Continuously. It's like, it just keeps going to another octave. And as I'm looking at the testimonies, like, yeah, and there's more. And it's gotten, I'll say better, but it's evolved. Like y'all are evolving, like Elizabeth's evolving. So it's just that octave with the wisdom of what was there before, but bringing in the new and being in relation with the new without having to know what the new is and being in the innocence of that, which you do so beautifully, Elizabeth. And that for me is, I believe, is why you have access to such a wide variety of realms that merge into that oneness consciousness and then allows you to transmit and be a seer for those that are seeking the mirror of themselves through you. It's amazing.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
It's amazing. It's so fascinating. Y'all, this is a special offer, truly. It's over $1,000 worth of material, including the 25% off of Elizabeth. And you probably didn't put value on recurring sessions having 20%, 25% off, but that's okay. Y'all, it's $147. It's all Elizabeth. Dive into it. There's a 2-payment option on it as well. If you want to make your first payment today, the next payment comes out 30 days later. And with everything on BTO, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. So it makes it a no-brainer as you participate in these modules. If they're not resonating, it's just no questions asked. I need a refund, but that doesn't happen too much on BTO. It's rare. And with Elizabeth, it's even more rare. So again, I encourage you to take advantage of the special offer. And to do so, again, the link is in the chat box if you haven't opened up the page yet. And just go to the buy now button, and it's a super simple, secure checkout. And you'll start receiving downloads. And Elizabeth, is there a scheduling link or something else to redeem, or did they just email you if they want the private session and the discount?
So if they want to go ahead and email me, the coupon is good for one use. And if you email me, I'll set you up and we'll find a time that'll work for you. And then that coupon can be easily applied at the store on my website. Awesome.
All right. Well, there's the special offer, y'all. Again, take advantage of it. And we'll revisit it a little bit more after the Q&A, just as a general reminder. But Elizabeth, I'm ready to open up for Q&A if you are.
I am too.
All right, let's get into it. So Karen Young, you're just popping. I have to call on you. If you'll unmute yourself, and welcome.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for having me. Wow. Just wow, that was a lot of information that just came out, and all very exciting. I'm new to the Akashic Records.
Oh, nice.
I am, yeah. So I've done everything else, psychic and I've done all that. Long time, work in progress. But recently I've been having connection with galactics, and so I have this vision. Of the ancient healing temples. I'm a crystal worker, and I know that's where I'm supposed to go, but I'm just a little bit lost. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, sure. I know it's there. I just need guidance. I'm not quite exactly sure.
Well, you need to know what you're dealing with, and so let me give you what I'm seeing would be useful to you right now to get you going. Yeah. And so the crystal piece is absolutely key right now, but there's another half to it, and it's the water. And you need to understand that the crystals and the water are second dimensional consciousness beings. They are actually beings. They have consciousness, but they actually are from the second dimension, which is why we don't perceive them as human conscious, but they are. They're quite conscious. And the crystals are really important because they choose you. We always think, oh, I chose this. No, you didn't. It's just kind of like a cat. The cat picked you. The cat always picked you. So the crystal world is all about resonance. It's all about alignment and resonance. And so those two words, I want you to dig into them because we don't really understand those words very well. And since every word's going to get a new definition sort of, or added on to more levels of definition, meditate on alignment, meditate on resonance. So each crystal is actually a being, and you're seeing its body in the 3D, but it's actually vibrating and moving in the second dimension. And it has a very specific, unique resonance, just like you. The other half of this whole piece for you, because you're Arcturian, that's your background. The Arcturians were masters of frequency and cymatics, cymatics. Look up cymatics on YouTube. And cymatics is what you're talking about. It's all about that resonance. It's why you like working with it for healing, because it constantly creates change in a body like ours, which is very fluid. But why is it fluid? Because we're water and our bodies mimic this planet, which has 3 times as much water under our feet as is on the surface of the planet. All those oceans that you see, there's 3 times as much water underneath us, underneath those oceans even. And so that tells us a lot, that this planet is both in resonance, works with alignment. We know that's for sure, because we just witnessed one volcano blow up on one side of the earth, and on the exact opposite side, another volcano blew up. So alignment and resonance is happening all the time. But the water has memory, and that's the next piece for you. The crystals and the water work together to create immense power and memory, immense resonance and alignment, and it will up-level your own personal healing. And now with this information, you can remember more about who you are and why you came and why it's going to be such a joy to be you right now.
Are you there?
I don't know.
There you are, Karen. Yeah. Oh, Karen, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you are.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'd suggest, and you mentioned that you're new to the Akashics, and there's a lot of information streaming through here. So for everybody, we're going to run the replay of this call, and it'll be up all week long. So come back and listen, and what was just shared with you, come back and listen to that part, especially for you, and because there's a lot there, and the remembrance of that is going to help you tap in even further, and it'll become much more graceful. And of course, if you dive in with Elizabeth, and this session with Elizabeth,
Yeah.
that tsunami of understanding will start to take form.
Yeah, it's incredible, because I know that about the crystals. I always have. I feel it. And that's just such a beautiful description. I love it. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for you too, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Okay.
Good to see you out here. All right, let's go to our next live caller. Alyssa, let's go to you. Hi.
Hi,
Hi, Hi,
Alyssa.
Elizabeth. Hi, everyone
Alyssa,
else.
Alyssa, before you ask your question, I need to do a little housekeeping. So I apologize.
What's up?
April, can you do me a favor? Someone has typed in and saying that they don't see a 2-payment option in the sales page. So if you can look at that and make sure it's properly functioning, I appreciate it. And so if anybody's looking for that 2-payment option and don't see it, give us a minute and we'll try to figure it out. And Alyssa, sorry to interrupt you, and thank you.
That's fine. It's exciting that the season started. I
Yeah.
can't believe it's 27, right?
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. I think I started listening at 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm glad you're on. I have a blockage, and I've really been thinking about this a lot lately. And I feel like it's a past life issue, perhaps, which surprises me because I've worked a lot on that, especially recently. And I have a 6-month-old direct sales business, and I have everything I need for this business. There's one piece missing, and there's something holding me back. There's something holding me back from, I don't know. There's
Yeah,
something.
I got you.
Mhm.
Ready?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. I'm excited. I'm ready.
So you're dealing with some serious genetic bondage.
Mm.
And you know what? Honestly, every genetic bondage is serious because this is what we came to clean up, right? So you need to understand what's happened. Your genetic line has an incredible amount of poverty and starvation in it. And that's affected everything in your life. It's a very specific frequency. Okay. So, how do you manage this? You need to go and really sit in the frequency of poverty. It can't hurt you. We resist it. We create businesses to like get over it. And then this wall keeps coming up. And it's so frustrating. And a lot of times it could be a past life, but in this case, it's totally genetic. It has to do with everything that's happened on the earth to your ancestors. And it's written in your DNA. It says poverty.
Mm.
Excellent.
It says this stuff in you, right? So all this is a frequency. There's lots of trash bags in your DNA that have poverty written on them, that have starvation written on them. And these things need to be understood because this is treasure. This is treasure. When you're able to heal this, it's going to be a quick, fast way to do it. You need to sit in it. You need to welcome it. You need to open your heart field. Ask all of your ancestors to come into your heart field. They will, because they're waiting for you to clear this. They're tired of it. And so they're going to come and you'll feel them behind you. And you'll say, "Dear heart, I fully welcome all the learning from poverty and starvation in myself, in my body, and my dear ancestors' bodies too. Now," and then take a deep breath. And what that does is it opens the trash bags so that a lot can be revealed energetically. Then you're going to shift it. You'll say, "Dear heart, please lift all of this trauma from poverty and starvation out of my body and field and replace it with generosity and abundance and nourishment." These are the opposites, right? So we're going to replace it with new qualities of light. And you may want to do this in a ritual space that you create for yourself. Ritual space works really, really well. And then do this multiple times if you need to. And what you'll find is you'll feel lighter and lighter and bigger because all the trash bags are going to get out of the way. And then you'll realize generosity, abundance, and nourishment. These are three sisters who totally want to come and live with me. They want to come spend time with me. And they want to have me witness this business thrive so that I can rewrite for my ancestry as the 7th generation, the one that you've been waiting for is you. And of course, we know this now. But as you clear this, my friend, your body will change, your body will heal, you'll feel more nourished, you'll feel more connected. That's what's been blocking you. Does that resonate with you?
I guess. I mean, if that's what I need to do, I'm gonna do it. I'm upset that I have worked so hard on clearing past life stuff and that's still kicking around.
This isn't your past lives, honey. This is very different. There's a difference. There's the soul's history, and then there's the DNA history. Okay, and the DNA history is might have been the exact thing you just happened to miss. It's your genetic DNA history. This is not your soul's history. The past lives these are not your lives. These are your ancestors' lives.
Okay.
That's the
I call
difference.
my ancestors, and when I call my team in, I call my ancestors in and I thank them. I do. I guess I just don't do the right things. But I'll address it.
It's okay. This is just a very specific technique. It's a very unusual path that now finally has come to you at the exact right time.
Exactly. So Alyssa, it's not that everything that you're working on has been for nothing, is that everything that you've been working on has led you to this for the release. Big
Exactly.
difference. Big difference. And so you're at the precipice. And so you don't stop now, right before you're about to mine the gold. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can do this. You can do this.
Oh, you can totally do it, Alyssa. And you know, you've got support of the light community also. But it's your ritual, it's your ceremony. And so honor that it's uniquely for you. It's about you seeing yourself in your power and in your light as well. Because the initiation through that is you witnessing the God of you, the light that Elizabeth saw through that window as herself. You get that also, just as we all do individually. You're not exempt. You're not exempt. And we've got you. We've got each other.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
I love you so much, Alyssa. I might
Me
listen
too.
to this again and just like let it attune to your body and receiving, because the frustration and the tears are also the body acclimating to the feeling of support, the feeling of the information coming in, the feeling of everything that's been pent up, releasing.
I'm also feeling sadness knowing that, my ancestors dealt with that, honestly.
Yes, absolutely.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
All right, Alyssa.
You're welcome, honey.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Ritual and ceremony. Ritual and ceremony. And I'm saying that out loud a few times, Elizabeth, because that's an ancient practice that I believe in the generations and the new generations coming in, it's been a forgotten component of our transcendence, of how we do it in community, acknowledge each other, and also go through the individuated acknowledgement of graduating through those ceremonies and those processes, or reaching those different octaves, which is the graduating in essence. It's beautiful.
Yeah. We're in a great initiation right now, and this is why everybody's going to get pieces that they needed that they didn't get before, especially me.
Well, I think we're all getting it in different versions of it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go to a next caller, Audrey. Let's go to you. And welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Audrey.
Oh, yay. Thank you so
I love your
much.
beret and your hair. It's like I had to call on you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I just love all of your iterations of truth. And today it's really resonating so deeply. I don't have a particular problem that I would like to ask about. So whatever you might see that could be of value, I've been resonating with, I'm going to call it diamond luminosity. It's sort of clearer than clear.
Yeah,
And
I've seen it too.
you do. I have some art projects that I would like to manifest into the world. And I feel like I live on like the visionary level, and I'm not clear about how to bring it to the earth plane, if you will.
Sure. You know why? And this will
Why?
probably help you. It'll answer
Good.
that issue. It's because you come from the fairy realm, and the fairy realm is very fifth dimensional. It has to do with all possibilities. And how can you possibly choose
Yeah.
from all possibilities, right? But here's the deal. The fairy have a really interesting history, and you'll really want to dig into that. And I think Alyssa might need to mute.
Yes, I just muted her.
Okay. So You'll want to notice this. The fairy have a really interesting history. They haven't really liked humans that much. But at the same time, they've really played a deep part in our experiment here because they are keepers of possibility, right? And some aspects of the fairy are, they don't really like contracts. They don't like things to be finished or solid. They don't necessarily like any type of box whatsoever. That's why you're having trouble manifesting into the earthly physical realm, honey, because you're so used to things always moving and changing. The artwork in the fifth dimension never stopped getting made. There was never a finished version of any painting that you did there. They're still there moving and changing, right? So that being said, you're here in a human body. You got invited to do this. This is actually the thing you came to do so that it could be possible for other beings like you to be able to do this. So you need to be ready to finish a painting. Your problem isn't that you don't know what to make. You have a million beautiful, perfect ideas. It's that you're really afraid of finishing it. Because then suddenly it doesn't become that moving, living thing that it was while you were making it. And so it's time for you to play with this concept of finishing things. But remember that the rule is everything you finish is a new beginning. And so every time you finish a painting, I'm going to help you fix your problem here because it happened to be an actual problem. You thought it wasn't. But you're going to do a ritual at the end of each painting where you allow it to exist as is. And you say to yourself, because you exist, you are loved. I welcome you to be born into the world. And then from there, you're going to bow to it. And then you're going to psychically and spiritually open a new door and say, and now the next door for the next painting will open. And what this will do is it'll keep a flow going between them, between all the beautiful visions that you have. Then there's never going to be a closed door. And that will feel more natural to you. And it will feel easier then to manifest in the physical for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a tremendous process. And there's a lot of y'all the starting isn't the issue. It's the follow through and the grounding in. And it seems like it's so difficult. It's the new energies and we have to wait, or, for me, it's this glass ceiling. And it's like, and there's something else. So this process that Elizabeth is gifting us, it's tremendous. It's
Can
tremendous.
I ask a follow up?
One more question and then we'll go on to the next caller. Yes, ask the question.
I finish paintings all the time. The ones that I have are like light, they're installations. And I don't have the skills to make them happen. I just have the vision. So if you have any idea of like other collaborators or anything.
Absolutely. Well, I would simply envision it, right? Because you have that pat down, right? So you envision it, then you feel it. You feel what the installation will feel like when it's finished, right? And then you give it away.
Okay.
Because in order for it to manifest, in order for the call to go out to people who could teach you how to do this, you got to give it away to Source, and Source is going to take that message and it's going to draw in all these incredible people over this next year.
Perfect.
So play with that too, and then play with like the beginnings and endings. And every vision, you have a beginning, you can really feel it fully. And then the beginning of it really is when you give it away. And then it will come.
Thank you so much.
This will be fun. This will be fun.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in. So wonderful. All right, let's continue here. Thank you. We love you too. Before I take the next caller, I want to remind everybody of the special offer and put the link in the chat box one more time. Again, all the modules with Elizabeth. It's how many in the first one? How many different tools? I don't even get into it. It's just so full.
There's going to be 99 classes available. The very first one's 94.
94. Okay.
And then each of the series has has two, except for the body oracle.
That's right. The 94 ancient templates of wisdom, the navigating the dimensions of consciousness, part 1 and 2, dissolving cultural conditioning. Man, we're doing that left and right, but to have a clearer perspective around that, it's like melting butter. It's amazing what happens when you're in that perspective. The body oracle, finding the answers inside yourself. And Elizabeth, I love this one because as we're becoming more empathic, it's like the body's intelligence is we're hearing it in ways that we hadn't before. And again, the 3 classes of your choice from Elizabeth's library of classes, the 1-year subscription to her monthly calls, and 25% off one-on-one session, and the music of bioluminescent, all included for $147 and a 2-payment option. The link again is in the chat box. Don't miss out on it. Take advantage of it and go deeper with Elizabeth. Amazing. All right, let's continue on. Jill Lyon, welcome. I haven't seen you in forever. It's great to see you. And can you unmute yourself?
You too.
See, now you know why I call on Jill. It's like that. It's like that. How can I say no? So what's your question for Elizabeth, Jill?
There are 3 things that popped, which was the knowing, the getting that we are what we're seeking. The other was the war is over and the hamster wheel. I think those 3 but I think it's the knowing that I am who I am seeking. I get it here. I don't even know how to really get it here yet, where the others I do.
That's a great question. And I'm actually seeing something kind of new here. So let me just sit with this, but it has to do with cellular wisdom. And I think this is a good step, but we do need to be able to feel it, right? And this like, how do you know you are the universal self? How do you know that you are source? And I know my friend Joe was asking me that question. How do you know? And how often do you know that? Well, I want you to kind of play with your experience a little bit, Joe, and allow the 3D to actually play its role. We're so kind of perturbed by the 3D. And I think that's very sad because the 3D is amazing. And this body is how you know. Because truly, I mean, this alone, these opposable thumbs, this is a miracle. There is not one species, not even Bigfoot, who can do this. And why? Because it was designed exactly that way for it to be so functional and so perfect. So there's a cellular knowing, but here's the trip. Your cells are all each individually conscious, and most of them aren't even you, technically.
Yeah.
They're bacteria, right? Why in the world are they hanging out making Jill and Elizabeth? Because of your consciousness. Your consciousness is so powerful that it literally is causing you to look like Jill. If another soul, and this happens to people with walk-ins, if another soul enters into that same body, that body changes a lot. Their likes and dislikes change, they change dress, they change so much. And they don't even look the same, they don't even talk the same, right? So this is a truth. This is a deep truth. It was well known by ancient people. It was written about by Thomas Aquinas, that a plant looks like that specific plant because it has a soul that looks like that plant, that causes matter to frequency-wise look like Elizabeth, right? This is why when people realize that they are source, they start to glow, literally. It's very physical. they begin to glow. We all glow. All of us glow. You're all making photons all the time, constantly. You are literally bioluminescent. Why? Because you are exactly that source, and a very specific frequency of source that arises from the source field because of love. Love is the element that draws us each out of the source field, and that light comes through, and it literally causes matter to gather around you into the form of a human body named Jill. So I want you to play with that. Feel it. Feel how your cells are literally making your hand right now in meditation, and just consciously. Like at this point now, I'm so conscious of it that I'm always amazed and surprised by my own weird body, and how like I can pick this up and drink from it and do stuff, or type, or play the piano, or even like hug my children. There's this incredible amazement that's available in you knowing that you are source. And you'll notice it all the time, and your body will change, and you'll find that you can do amazing things with your body when you consciously are working with it and getting to know all these cells who love you so much. That's why they're here making you. And that's the 3D. So we don't want to leave the 3D behind. We include it. We include it in the amazement. And then it'll start to roll over into, whoa, all these other folks are source too. Like, look at them. Wow, look at that guy. Wow, I can see a lot more now. I can see now that the soul of that guy has made him this incredible powerhouse of heart-centered energy named John. Mm. Right? So then you'll notice this, and then you'll be in compassion. You'll be in love with everyone, no matter who they are. No matter who they are. Mm. And the judgment disappears, and the amazement and the soul to soul connection. And then slowly that merges into you feeling one with every single thing around you all the time, until you're the universe, because you actually are, and you can feel it. You can feel the universe. So play with that. That's kind of what I see. It'll be the cellular relationship that will help us renew our relationship with being source all the time.
Hmm. Oh, Jill, thank you for putting that in. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Breathe into it, and I can listen to it. And the cells awaken through that remembrance, through the vibrational hearing of the tone that Elizabeth's bringing in. The cells start to activate in a new consciousness, and the remembering and going into the God code, if you will. It's so powerful, so beautiful. Jill, you're amazing. And Elizabeth, you just, I love how you answer this. You just rock.
Thanks, John.
Thank you both so much.
Nice to see you again, Jill.
You too, Elizabeth. Yeah.
It's funny, Elizabeth, you know, the question and the way they answered brought forward this message that I received from this other space. And I want to invite everybody on the call into the gift that was given to me, and hopefully it will serve you in some way. But the message was to really be in the heart space and the innocence of your asking, realizing that when you ask, the answer is right there for you. And the quote that came after that, and maybe this will ping something for you, is to remember that a question asked from the mind seeks to manipulate, but a question asked from the heart seeks enlightenment. So where are you asking it from? Ask your why, and remember, with the intention of your asking, that the answer is there. Nothing is being withheld from you. We live in an abundant universe that wants to gift us its love. So ask with innocence and with a knowing, and don't get caught up in time, but getting caught up in, I'm ready to receive what's ready for me to receive. And then that is just, it's the field contracts, and your auric field, rather than contracting, expands as well, and you meet those answers in a new wave of being and the newness that you're allowing. So Jill, I want to thank you for provoking that remembrance for me in particular. And I wanted to share it with all of y'all, again, with the hopes that it serves some of y'all. Elizabeth, what do you know and you're not knowing?
That's a good question.
Mm.
Wow, that's the craziest question you've ever asked me all these years.
I know. That's why I want to finish the call. So before you answer, y'all, the link for the special offer is in the chat box. We'll send out the link for the replay in the email. Replays are always available at beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. For everybody who had your hands up, who asked questions, dive in further with Elizabeth. I wanted to get to all of you all. I really did. But there's more, and there's more BTO shows, and Elizabeth will be back. So we'll get you all in. Yeah. What do you know that you don't know?
Yeah. So I'm at the edge, right? I'm hanging out at this window. And I kind of love the Elizabeth book a lot. It's been a really great effort to get to this book. And all of you are reading a book that you worked really, really hard to get to. Many, many billions of years of existence to get to this moment, to read this book, whatever your name might be. But the secret to that light is that you can't go into the window, you can't go forward into it. You actually have to back up into the window, hop your butt up onto that ledge, and fall backwards.
Nice.
You have to actually fall backwards into source, my friends. You fall backwards into source. And what I was seeing that was moving and creating all the library is my essence. It's luminosity. That's why it looked like that beautiful white light, but it was moving. That's my essence. And you have an essence too. And it's worth falling in love with. It's really fun and beautiful to gaze at your own essence and to love it and experience it. And then when you're ready to let it go, you're going to need to fall backwards into source. And this is what people stop at usually, and that's okay. It's totally okay. But for me, I've been opened up. I've been turned inside out by the experiences I've had over the past year, but especially the past 2 months. And I was shown my own intention, which is enlightenment. And it was so real that if I hadn't believed in it before, now I know that I've set myself up for this success. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. So that inevitability gives you surrender enough to fall backwards into source. And I was shown what it'll look like. It'll look like all of us, if we want it, to literally be a star, just a source of light, nothing else, no Elizabeth left. And so all my endeavor is now is to find out what is left of Elizabeth. What is left of that me thinking that I am myself and dissolving it. But I've popped my butt onto that ledge. I'm ready. I'm getting there. I'm psyching myself up to fall backwards into source. So we'll see what happens, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable because we all made it. You all made it to the end of the library, folks. It's not just me. It's a big, big end, and you're there too. And your book is there, and you worked hard to get here. And so don't stop this inquiry. Don't stop looking inward and doing the non-doing. Just be this, and then become only one thing, the source field. And from there is no more suffering. It's a different journey. It doesn't stop, but the hamster wheels end. And then that diamond mind, that diamond luminosity mind, understanding all the facets of reality, because as source, you'll be able to see that each person around you is one of those facets. That's what the diamond is. That's why it's so clear now, because you are that which you were always seeking. It's so beautiful. So that's what I know that I don't know.
Well, and I just have to share as we end this and really just thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it's from that knowing that you describe it to us, and it's only from that place of innocence that the wisdom of the knowing can truly come through in its purest essence. And so again, I don't think I could have asked that question of anybody else coming on the show. Specifically for you, and it was so spot on. And thank you for emanating through the innocence of the not knowing to ingest us with that beautiful wisdom of love and light. You're awesome. Thank you so much for being on
Thank
this
you, John.
website.
I
Thank
sure love you, and I love your beautiful people, all these gorgeous souls, and
Yeah.
all these facets of source. It's so beautiful to be together in this new year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for what you do and how you do it. Again, it's such a gift to be with you and to have these experiences and to be in resonance with you. And thank all of y'all on the call tonight for your essence, your energy, your questions, your light, your doubt, your knowing, your not knowing, for everything, just the beauty of the entirety of who you be. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being on the call, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great evening.